All right. Hello there. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, there we go. Hi.
Hey. Hi. How are you?
All right. I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. How are you doing?
Doing great. Excited to be on.
Excellent. So we are playing Reefers Never Die, joined by Symbiotic Parker. Um, so do you go by the username or just Parker?
Parker's fine.
Okay. Cool. Anything else I should know about the game before getting started?
Nope. I think you went through the instructions and everything. I think you're good to go.
All right. Let's see how much of it I remember. Um,
Yeah.
should I use a controller? Would you recommend that?
yeah. Controller support should work fine.
Okay. Would you recommend it though? Like, do you think it's better to play with a controller?
I personally like playing with a controller. Yeah, I think that the controls for keyboard are pretty intuitive, but I personally like playing with a controller. So
Okay, I'll give it a shot. So let's get the game open here. And we can start with our first question, which is always can you talk a bit about your background in game development and your role on this project?
Our team has been working together for a couple of years now. We've been doing a bunch of jams, including multiplayer and VR jams.
Whoa.
And Yeah, my role is kind of an apprentice in all the different sectors. I'll help out with programming, game design, music, and art. But we have four other team members, two main programmers, one main artist, and one musician. So yeah, we got a nice little rounded team.
Nice. Yeah, it's always great when like you've got sort of someone to cover every discipline.
Yeah, exactly. So that ended up working out really well. We were all kind of able to work in parallel and try to add as much as we could to the game.
Nice. Okay, so I think I'm getting a hang of the sort of core combat loop is that your enemies that have a lower value, while you could theoretically roll those on a higher die, you're better off switching to a lower die that is more likely to hit those numbers.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So, can you talk a little bit about how you actually, what was the inspiration behind this game?
A couple different inspirations. It was definitely stylistically heavily driven by one of our other 2D artists on our team who joined for this jam. She created all the sprites. Our 3D artist created the environment to match. So we kind of built off this whole kind of like cute Grim Reaper premise. And we also like to do a lot of multiplayer and hack and slash type. So this felt like a good fit to kind of combine a hack and slash and the normal kind of you know RNG, kind of not quite turn based, but more turns the hack and slash. Yeah, so
Mhm.
kind of combining all those elements together.
Yeah, it really helps if you have played enough D&D to remember what shape of die is which.
Yeah, it sure does. You get bonus nerd points for that.
And you get even like triple nerd points if you remember what each type of die is called. But sadly, that I don't know. I know the D20 is an icosahedron. I know that the one beneath that is the dodecahedron, and I don't remember what the like 8-sided die is called beneath that
Yeah,
because they're
I
not
I get
just
lost pretty quick in those.
yeah. I because the D10 is not a platonic solid, so that's the one I don't remember what it's called if it actually
Hmm.
has a fancy name. Anyway, none of that
Yeah, that
really
was one of the
matters.
reasons that we tried to try to add some more visual cues, and we've taken a lot of people's feedback. We've gotten a lot of comments since we've put into the review process, and we've spent this last week kind of working on a new build that's going to go out as soon as this jam wraps up. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, you know what, like you are mentioning it now, and I'm realizing that like, oh yeah, there's that little die next to the enemy's head that I can see is the indicator.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly. And so we've added some additional pieces to add some clarity, but um, Yeah, that's the main indicator, and one of the things that was mentioned in the intro is that that's just a suggested use, right? So, like you mentioned in your intro, if you need to roll a 5, you can use a d20, but
Mhm.
statistically not as powerful, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a interesting like way to sort of juggle the probability of like, oh, why wouldn't I just use a d20? It's like, well, your odds of using a d20 to actually roll a low number intentionally are very low. So while it is hard to kill an enemy that requires you to roll something between like a 15 and 17 on the upper end of things,
Hmm.
it's like it does give you incentive to actively cycle between the different dice. Um, sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
that was one of the big motivators as we started to flesh out the gameplay, and our programmers. Uh, that's a big reason why we considered doing or implemented doing a range with the enemies, because it helped even out some of the probability. When we first were testing, you definitely would gravitate to either the low or the high die, but we felt like we did a good job of setting things up that kind of incorporates being able to utilize all of them, and that feels somewhat rewarding, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I'm fighting two enemies at the same time, I will try to like go in and like just pick the higher of the two and swing at both.
Yeah, exactly. That's great strategy, and it's also super satisfying when you get two enemies that are in a similar same range, and then you're able to get a double kill on that. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I've gone through the entire level and lost most of my health. I don't suppose there's any way to recover HP.
There is not.
Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to simplify a little bit, and so that was a mechanic that we decided was better left off on this shortened jam.
Yeah, that's totally fine. All right. Well, I actually realized there's a couple more enemies because the yeah, you got a really nice like mini map in the corner there. Is that like a sort of sprite based representation of the level?
I think I believe our programmer set it up as essentially a secondary top-down camera that's viewing the map, as well as sprite icons that are actually like floating above the characters' heads,
Mm-hmm.
and so you get a nice view of the procedurally generated map, as well as, like you said, some sprites on where you can see where your enemies are at. So
Yeah, that's actually a really cool way of doing it. Just like having a sprite attached to everything that only one camera can see, and then having a 3D model which only the other camera can see, and then that way you just kind of like get a mini map for free.
yeah, exactly. And I was super psyched to see that. I feel like it works really well, um, and it is nice because the map changes each time to kind of see that layout.
Yeah. Also, I was like all gearing up for a boss battle. I'm like, oh man, I got 15 HP to fight the giant icosahedron, but it's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I win.
Yeah, exactly. That was the last minute one that up until the last moment we're like, we want to have this boss fight in there, and then it was like, okay, well, we're not going to have a boss fight in here. So
Mm-hmm. All right. So, can you talk a little bit about the development process, at least from your side of things?
sure. Our two main programmers definitely like were the foundation for this jam. They set up a lot of the core concepts and mechanics, and they were the two of the team that was able to participate basically the most during the 48 hours. And so myself and our other team members kind of floated in and out, would contribute pieces, move it forward, and then kind of pass the baton into the next team. So um, it was, the graphics and stuff like that were, I think, pretty far developed. The look of the game by the time our musician got in and was able to kind of make music that he felt matched. Um, and one of the things that I was able to kind of assist with is pulling all those pieces together. So as they got a lot of the mechanics set up, I was able to help plug in music, help with adjust the lighting and the visuals and stuff like that. So um, yeah, it was a pretty fun jam. We like I said, we've been doing them for a while, and we feel like as a team, we really have been coming together, have been able to kind of tackle these jams, and especially in a 48 hour, which is we're so happy with this game in a 48-hour period. And we've done jams that are 1 to 3 weeks long, and this one just feels like it really came together. So
Yeah, I mean, like getting a full-on multiplayer working and everything. So is that basically the same, except you're multiple Reapers all running around at the same time?
yeah, exactly, and that's one of the things that we tend to lean towards as a game studio is multiplayer gaming. So it's just something that our main programmers especially love and are incredibly talented at, and we as a team just like playing together. So that's always whenever we can, like being able to throw us in the kind of same environment. It's fun to see each other uh, kind of exist in this environment that we build. It's pretty neat.
Mhm. So is it just one of the players will like fire up the like host a server essentially, and then everyone else can join onto it?
Exactly, exactly that. And so we're looking into different ways that we can accommodate different, you know, join processes. The WebGL build, I believe, allows to connect to a host and not host itself.
Hmm.
But even that requires some setting changes, I think, in Chrome to uh, allow a connection through through WebGL. So yeah, we're always really interested in trying to figure out how best to implement that. So we're still refining that process as far as like the host client relationship. But
Gotcha.
yeah, right now it's the get the host IP and join in.
Nice. Oh, neat. So can you tell me a little bit about the feedback you've received so far and some of the plans you might have for a post-gen version?
Yeah, of course. We got a lot of amazing feedback regarding the art, the style, the music, and just overall vibe. We also felt like we got a lot of great feedback about character movement and how smooth that feels. And then we also got a lot of feedback talking about the clarity of gameplay and the gameplay loop. So we've taken a lot of feedback on that and feel like we've done a good job of being able to kind of address that. Um, our our stopgap fix is to continue to add to the wall of text on the game page so that people have
Yeah.
some context. But we are building in some of that context into the game itself, into a how-to screen. We've set up another camera that's specific to whatever die you have selected, and that will show up enlarged in the top left, so you have a
Hmm.
better sense of you can more visually see what weapon, as it were, is highlighted at the time. And then we've also added some hit and miss feedback, so you kind of can see yourself swinging. So all those times when you're clicking and you're missing, that was a lot of feedback we got of like, it feels like I'm not hitting them, or I'm not swinging, or I don't know what I'm doing. So we're
Hmm.
able to kind of give that visual feedback and say, yeah, you swung, you missed, right? And so
Right.
and then those times where you do get a hit. So that we felt like that added a lot of clarity to the game, and I think we've done a couple other things that are along those lines, because that was the biggest amount of feedback we got. Right, is that combining the hack and slash and the RNG mechanics is not something that's necessarily super common, right? So
Hmm.
being able to explain the enemy ranges and stuff like that, we feel like we put a lot of um, work into refining that over this last week. So we're excited to put out the new version tomorrow evening.
Nice.
Yeah, and this is one of the things we're feeling really good about as well with these jams is, being able to come through and do a after pass polish on some of the mechanics, fix some of the things that we weren't able to address in the time frame.
Hmm.
And this jam, I feel like we were able to address that all within this last week. Sometimes we'll spend weeks or up to a month continuing to ideate and polish a game after the jam, just for our own own pride in a lot of ways. Um, but this one, I feel like even now we're all as a team is like, yeah, we made all the updates, we got a lot of feedback that we addressed, and we're kind of done with this one and ready to move on to the next jam. So
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I think like what I'm seeing here is already like so far towards being a like complete experience. And then I can definitely imagine some of the things like as you were describing stuff you're already planning on slash have already addressed.
mhm.
So yeah, I think that's great to know that there is a post jam version coming. Are you going to be entering it into the post jam?
I we will be now. I didn't know that there was a post jam.
Yeah, you'll see mention of it here and there on the Game Makers Toolkit Discord. It's hosted by one of the other prominent teams of the earlier jams, but the people who made Die Munition this time around. I don't know if you've seen it on any other streams, but yeah, basically every year they're like, well, after having an entire week of having your game locked and having all that time to get feedback, people obviously do want to go in and make changes, and then they actually want to get feedback on said changes. So sure would be nice if there was like another game jam that happened immediately after this one where the whole goal is to like take your idea and refine it. So that's their idea, and yeah, I'll be doing my best to cover that as well and participate in it. So yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love that because we're definitely in that boat of after every jam, feeling like at the very least addressing some of the pieces or bugs or whatever that we didn't get to finish in our own vision. But then, yeah, getting a lot of feedback is always incredibly helpful. We've really stepped up our visual feedback in our gameplay, kind
Mm-hmm.
of giving a better feel and kind of giving more clarity into what's going on. Um, so yeah, we're feeling pretty good at our ability to take that feedback and not only fold it into this game, but our next project. So that sounds great. I love the idea of being able to kind of say, hey, here's an even more polished up version. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find a link to it. Weirdly, like looking up post jam productions. Here we go. I see a link to a YouTube video that should link to the actual thing itself. Um, please, maybe? It's not the best SEO. Here we go. Got it. There we go. Post Jam Jam,
Awesome.
number
Yeah, thank you
5.
so much. Yeah, I'm really excited about the visual element as well. That was one of the things that I got to go back and tinker with some more is, adding some more post processing effects, adding some great ambient occlusion
Mhm.
and some color grading and contrast that really helps enhance the soul reaping environment that we've that we've set up. So pretty excited um, about this new version and not to downplay this one, we're again really excited to have put out what we feel like was a pretty polished game in 48 hours. So we're pretty blown away with what we were able to put together just
Oh,
from our team,
absolutely.
from a team standpoint, right?
Yeah. So, I gotta ask: is part of the plan to change up the coloration on the die in the bottom of the screen?
We have the selector is going to change to be a green that matches your health up above,
Mm-hmm.
and we've added some additional lighting to the die to make them stand out a bit more, and then the stylizing of the game itself, adding the ambient occlusion and that kind of stuff does make it pop off the background as well.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, I should clarify. I always understood what die I had active. I just meant
Mhm.
like do you want to make the D4 pink and the D6 blue and the
Oh, I see.
D8 yellow, etc.
Yeah, that is a great concept. I will pass that on to our team because yeah, anything we can do to help clarify visually what's going on, we're always really happy to incorporate.
Yeah, I think that because you already have the visual language of the enemies being different colors based on the die range. So if like
Yeah,
obviously having this symbology is important as well because not everyone um, not everyone can necessarily tell the colors apart. But if you rendered the die in a fixed perspective, like the D4 is always a triangle, the D6 is always a square, the
Hmm.
icosahedron is always the kind of like sort of classic face-on shape,
Hmm.
and the I guess like the it was someone left it as a comment earlier, who
Oh
gets
yeah,
all
they
the
did.
internet points. The oh yes yes mana hangover. It's a pentagonal trapezohedron. Like what is that word even? I don't feel bad for not remembering it. But yeah, I don't know if I don't know like the best way to render each of these necessarily, but I think that yeah, that combination of the color association, the symbol association. So the what I mean by that is um, when it's displayed over an enemy, not having that as the same spinning model, because I think it'll actually be easier to read if it's not like rotating. But I
Yeah.
actually like even that is not super necessary, because when you see a range above an enemy and it says between 15 and 16, it's like well guess what? There's only one of these die that's got those numbers on it. But again, that might just be my D&D rules remembering helping out. So I wouldn't say don't include the die. I just think that all three pieces of information, the symbol, the color, and the number range can all inform what die you need to use. So yeah, no downside to including all three pieces of information.
Yeah, I love that.
Um, it might trigger some people's pen and paper OCD and them wanting to have dice from the same set. I see. So Lasta is a game that you can pick up and throw a lot of tips on how to customize the dice.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I so that's funny to me because I'm I don't play a lot of like physical D&D,
Hmm.
but the one time I have like gone to visit my friend in Ottawa and play D&D at his place, like the set of die that I use are all distinctly colored. So
Yeah, the color is definitely something that we can revisit. One of the other ideas, and something you had mentioned, is that essentially having a color, uh, a monochromatic mode, or a colorblind mode that would highlight contrast more than this. I'm sure it kind of bleeds together at this point
mhm.
for uh, color ramp. Hmm.
Yeah, a color ramp is a possibility. I'll mention it now because it hasn't come up in a while, but there is a fantastic tool you can use called Color Oracle. Have you heard of that before?
No.
So it is a free plugin that you can use, and I'll just share the link here. And I'll relaunch the game. Actually, yeah, I should be able to do this. I just got to able to enter. Wait. Oh, I can't. I can't come out of full screen, huh? Yes, I can. I can. I can. Just not while the splash screen was active. So what Color Oracle does, games, how to and tools, Color Oracle. So now that it's running, I can click solo, and so I can see the screenshot of the game here. And then I right click on Color Oracle, and I can effectively create a screenshot of what this looks like to somebody with any one of the three types of color blindness.
Oh wow.
So this is what the game looks like to somebody with deuteranopia, and you can see that the like most of the background is the same shade of blue, whereas like the word roll above your head is like this one bright yellow. That's the only thing that really stands out.
Yeah.
So this is why you can't rely on colors too much, because most of the enemies, like if you've got enemies that are distinguished by red and green, that is just not going to work. They're going to look identical
Yeah.
unless they are also distinct in shade. But I'm looking at this, like the oh yeah, this the only thing. If you press any buttons, it kind of like goes away.
Hmm.
So I don't know if I can activate this and then scroll up. Maybe it'll let me.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh, okay, I'm lost. Yeah, because if I press any keys and then I lose it. But
Hmm.
basically, there are like these four little enemies in the corner here that like the blues and the greens look like just blue and yellow, and they don't stand out very much from each other. But anyway, it's a great tool. It's free. You can super easily use it to make sure your UI is colorblind friendly.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, we kind of skipped over the question of if you have a useful shortcut or a clever hack in the Unity engine that you would like to recommend to anyone else.
Ooh, I don't, unfortunately. I don't think that I have one off the top of my head. But maybe our programmer is chatting. He can throw something in chat. But
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone has if, a suggestion. Well, otherwise, if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask, now's the time. But otherwise, do you have any other projects that you'd like to plug or social media channels you want to drop in the chat?
we are working on a top-down shooter at the moment, and hopefully we'll be trying to release that on Steam by the end of the year. Our team is called Bouncy Castle Games, and so if you go to bouncycastle.games, that'll take you to our itch page currently, and we'll be hopefully ramping up some more visibility on this next project as we get a little bit closer to release time. And then our programmer is here. Uh, he the question was any Unity tips or tricks, right?
Basically, yeah. I just reposted the link as well, or the question as well. But yeah, if and just in the meantime, I'll take the opportunity to say that if you get to a point where there's a like publicly playable, or not necessarily publicly, but like something you're comfortable with other people seeing, if I were to play it on stream, I'd be more than happy to take a look at it and offer feedback. Just try it out, and yeah, just otherwise have a chat like this one, but more in a like feedback oriented session.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I really appreciate that offer.
Absolutely. All right. Well, File 13. If you have something that's cool, if not, don't worry about it. But in the meantime, Parker, thank you so much for submitting the game. This is definitely like super polished. Um, I think like you know I'm hesitant to like make recommendations because you've already talked about how you're addressing some of these concerns, but I think I would love if the combat had a little more punch to it, something that made like maybe the screen shake a little, or have like a knockback effect to apply to
Ooh,
either the enemy or the character as they take damage, just to make it feel a bit more like impactful.
yeah, I love the idea of the knockback effect, especially. And one of the things that we were originally wanting to incorporate were more particle effects, like if when an
Mhm.
enemy dies, we had an idea that as an enemy died, it would throw out a bunch of the different die as particles. And I don't know that that's implemented yet, so that's a great one to put back on our radar, and hopefully we can get that in before we re-release a new version. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And like knockback is always problematic because you can get knockback effects like clipping you through walls and stuff.
Mm,
But screen shake is basically when you get for free. Like if you have a camera that is not too tightly controlled,
hmm
then you can at least kind of like jitter it on the horizontal axis. Or you can even cheat, and if the game's using a render texture, you can just take that entire texture and shake it without actually repositioning the camera at all.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, so File 13 responded about having Brother taught me one recently. When you use the vertex snapping while moving objects, you could hold Control and Shift to snap to the chat like scrolled when I was trying to read that. You can hold Control and Shift to snap to a surface instead of a vertex. That is hold V with the move tool selected, and and that will let you move stuff along surfaces. Interesting. I think that's so. Most of the development that I do in Unity is in the UI space, so
Okay.
uh, it does sound incredibly useful though. So that thank you. And yeah, you mentioned you got a hit and slash miss text coming off enemies. That's going to be good for feedback. Also about the colors, it's a good idea to see what it looks like for colorblind people. Originally, we weren't even text scrolled again. Originally, we weren't using different colors for enemies, so it wasn't really thought of to be used as a separation of type. It just happened to add variety. Yeah. Twitch Studio is supposed to pause the chat from scrolling when I'm scrolled back on a comment, but it was just not doing that. For knockback, we can use a rigid body, so if implemented correctly, I think it can accomplish that without getting pushed through walls. For screen shake, you got to be careful not to overdo it. Yes, I get motion sick when people overdo screen shake. But the thing is, as somebody who gets motion sick from screen shake, I will tell you, I don't know if everyone feels it this way. If you take the camera and rotate it, I'm sick instantly. If you take the camera and shake it left and right or up and down, that's more tolerable. So
Mm.
I always say do include screen shake, but also give people the option to disable it in a settings menu.
Yeah, exactly. And that's whenever we've thought about implementing features like that, that's always the caveat that we have to add to it, because we know it can be problematic for some people. So
Yeah.
that's definitely something we would want to add to our settings menu as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's another good point. Like when you're creating screen shake, instead of just like randomly shaking the camera around, I always use a sine wave, like a dampening sine wave to control it, so that the camera is actually like shifting up and down in a sinusoidal fashion that is like coming to a rest at 0. So it's not just like random frames being like shunted back and forth. But and then the other point I wanted to make about knockback, right? You can have the character visibly get knocked back if the character is a child of a rigid body that is actually moving around. That way, the character can look like they're getting knocked back or knocked around without actually changing their position and worrying about them getting clipped into walls and stuff. So that is maybe a possibility, but it would still look like the character is visibly getting clipped into walls that just wouldn't actually do it.
I absolutely love that solution. I'm always a fan of illusion, and using some back end Unity hacks to kind of change the perception of what's going on for the player, even though something different is going on behind the scenes than they realize.
Yeah, exactly. Like, um, I think you'd need to like refine that system. It just like popped into my head, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, the character sprite is on the main object. Normally, we do stuff like keep it on child object for stuff like that. Exactly. Yes, that is a bit of wisdom that I had recorded not that long ago, actually. But yeah, you can check out the collection, the VODs, to see other such bits of wisdom. You can see others in this collection here, because that is one that I mentioned quite recently. So anyway, I think that's where we're going to wrap that up there. So Parker, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks again for supporting the channel and for sharing with us this awesome game.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is the first time that we've interacted with any streaming during a jam event. So I've absolutely loved what you've been doing of highlighting people's games and being able to walk through them, give feedback, and all of that. This has been an incredible experience. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I guess I can also say like you're welcome. I'm glad that this is entertaining to people and also helpful in a general sense. So yeah, again, just thank you, I guess. Yeah. And
I will have fun playing the other games. We'll be in the stream, and yeah, it's been really great to see a bunch of these highlighted games so that we can go in and get more ratings done as well, give people feedback. So,
yeah.
But thank you so much. I'll hop off here and have a great rest of your stream.
Thanks so much. Have a good rest of your day. Bye bye for now.